Across the world, ancient civilizations told stories about a devastating flood. A cataclysm so powerful, it reshaped the earth and humanity itself. Were these just myths or distant memories of a real event? Today, we'll explore 11 civilizations that preserve tales of a great flood. Number 11. Our journey begins in the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. Here, in the land between two rivers, one of the oldest flood stories ever recorded took shape. It comes to us from the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale written in the 18th century BC. In this epic poem, Utnapishtim, also known as Atrahasis in other versions, is a hero who receives divine knowledge of an impending great flood. Given instructions by the gods, he constructs a massive vessel to preserve himself, his family, and pairs of every living creature. As the rains pour for 6 days and 7 nights, the world is inundated, and Utnapishtim and his companions survive in their boat until the waters recede. Upon seeing that all life has been wiped out, Utnapishtim releases doves, a swallow, and a raven, which returned except for the raven, signaling that dry land is still covered in water. Finally, when the land is dry, Utnapishtim and his family leave the boat and sacrifice an offering to the gods. The gods, pleased with the sacrifice and recognizing Utnapishtim's righteousness, grant him immortality, granting him eternal life as a reward for his piety and obedience. Number 10. The Hebrew Bible. From Mesopotamia, we move to the Hebrew Bible, where we find perhaps the most well-known flood narrative, the story of Noah's Ark. The story unfolds in Genesis, chapters 6 through 9. It tells of a righteous man named Noah, who finds favor in the eyes of God. God, grieved by the wickedness of humanity, decides to send a great flood to cleanse the earth of corruption. He reveals his plan to Noah, commanding him to build an ark to preserve himself, his family, and pairs of all living creatures. The ark is constructed with detailed specifications, ensuring its sturdiness and capacity to house the multitude of species. When it is complete, God instructs Noah to bring the animals aboard along with provisions for their sustenance. As the rains fall for 40 days and 40 nights, the earth is flooded and all life outside the ark is washed away. After 150 days, the waters recede and the ark comes to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah then sends out a dove to see if dry land is visible. When the dove returns with an olive leaf, it signifies that the floodwaters have receded enough for life to begin anew. Noah and his family leave the ark and are blessed by God with renewed creation. To symbolize the covenant between God and humanity, the rainbow appears as a reminder of God's promise to never again destroy the world by flood. Number 9. Ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, the story of the flood was attributed to the wrath of Zeus. In Hesiod's Theogony, Zeus, enraged by the wickedness of humanity, resolves to send a deluge to destroy the world. Only Deucalion and his wife, Pyrrha, are saved. They manage to escape the rising waters by taking shelter in a massive chest. When the flood recedes, Zeus, recognizing Deucalion's piety, grants them immortality, and they become parents of the new race of humans. Another Greek account is found in Ovid's Metamorphoses, where he narrates the same story, emphasizing the universality of the flood narrative across cultures. Number 8. Hindu tradition. In Hindu mythology, the story of the flood is retold with Manu as the central figure. According to the text, the Puranas, and the Mahabharata, Manu, the descendant of the creator god Brahma, is warned by a giant fish Matsya, an incarnation of Vishnu, about an upcoming flood. The fish advises Manu to construct a boat to ensure his survival. Following the fish's guidance, he builds a vessel and takes 2 of each living creature on board, along with sacred seeds and grains. The rains commence and continue for 7 days, inundating the earth. After the waters recede, the surviving creatures disembark and the earth, now devoid of vegetation, is populated by the plants grown from the seeds. Manu, having survived the deluge, is considered the progenitor of the new race of humans and the father of humanity in the new age. Number 7. Ancient Egypt. In Egyptian mythology, the story of the flood appears in the Osiris myth, where Set, Osiris's brother and the personification of chaos, overthrows order and drowns the earth in a deluge. However, the sun god Ra, realizing the damage done to his creation, intervenes. On the 5th day of the flood, Ra creates the goddess Sekht, whose name means both powerful and blood. She is tasked with punishing Set and restoring order to the world. Sekhmet rides her chariot drawn by 8 bulls and unleashes a flood of blood and water, killing Set's followers and supporters. While the flood washes away the corrupt and wicked, it is not considered a divine punishment for humanity at large. Instead, it serves as a metaphor for the cyclical renewal that occurs during the annual flooding of the Nile River, which Egyptians viewed as a necessary evil. The waters eventually recede, and Osiris, the personification of order and fertility, rises from the dead and takes his rightful place as king of the underworld. Number 6, Norse mythology. In Norse mythology, the story of the flood is recounted in the poetic Edda, specifically in the Vulasp, a poem that speaks of the end of the world, an event known as Ragnarok. During Ragnarok, the great serpent, Jormungandr, also known as the Midgard serpent, emerges from the sea, causing earthquakes and unleashing poisons and venom. Its presence leads to a cosmic flood of blood that covers the earth. Only Bergelmir and his wife, descendants of Odin, survive the deluge, floating on a wooden object. When the waters recede, the sun shines brightly once more and the world is reborn. Similar to other flood narratives, there's a motif of survival and rebirth. Number 5, the Maya. In Mesoamerica, the Popolvuh, the sacred book of the Kashmaya, contains several flood myths. One notable version tells of 3 previous creations of humanity, each of which was destroyed by a deluge sent by the gods. These creations were made of wood, maize, and finally, human beings. The gods, observing humanity's lack of appreciation for their gifts and creations, threaten to destroy them with water. Only a man and a woman chosen by the gods are spared and instructed to flee to the mountains. They climb into a reed boat and are guided by the gods through a tunnel in the sky, until they reach the eastern shores of the lake called the House of the Dawn. From there, they multiply and repopulate the world. Number 4, the Aztecs. The Aztec people held beliefs that the world had gone through several cycles of creation and destruction. Their history was divided into 5 distinct eras, each marked by a different sun. The 5th and current era, the era of the Sun of Movement, would be followed by a 6th era that would bring about the end of the world. In the Nahua creation narrative, there was a time before the present world when the 5th sun existed and humanity lived alongside the gods. However, the gods became irritated by humanity's failure to respect them. The gods planned to rid themselves of humanity and began sending various natural disasters, including floods, storms, earthquakes, and fire. They continued to send these disasters repeatedly, causing great suffering and loss of life. Each time the gods saw that their punishment had not yet led to the total destruction of humanity, they decided to try a different approach. They gathered together in a council to discuss the problem, and Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, suggested a new strategy. He proposed that they create another great flood to wipe out humanity. With the support of the other gods, Tezcatlipoca commanded the rain to fall continuously, causing the water level to rise and engulf the world. All living things perished in the flood, and the gods were left alone in the heavens. After some time, they observed that the earth was empty and lifeless, and they began to feel remorse for destroying humanity. The gods decided to create a new race of humans from the mud of the lake. They molded the figures from the mud, and once they came to life, the gods gave them the gift of speech. The new humans multiplied, and the world was once again filled with life. The gods hoped that this new race would be more obedient and respectful towards them than the previous one. No. 3. The Incas. Among the Inca, the story of the flood is tied to the legend of the first Inca ruler. In Inca mythology, Virahaca, the supreme creator deity, initially created a race of giants who quickly grew disobedient and warlike. Topunis Temvirakuka unleashed a great flood known as Unu Pachacuti, meaning the water that overturns the world. The flood devastated the giants, wiping out most of them and forcing the remaining ones to flee to remote areas. Among the survivors were a man and a woman who took shelter in a cave. When the floodwaters receded, Viracaka, moved by their piety, spared them and bestowed immortality. This man and woman, descendants of the gods, emerged from the cave as the progenitors of the Inca people. Number dos, Native American legends. Native American traditions contain numerous flood myths reflecting diverse cultural beliefs and perspectives. One example is the Hopi legend, which tells of a great flood that threatened to engulf the world. According to the story, only a few members of the Hopi tribe managed to survive the deluge by climbing into tall reeds. Another flood myth comes from the Ojibwe people. It narrates a time when all living creatures perished in a great flood except for the culture hero Nanabo, who saved a sturgeon, a loon, and a muskrat. When the waters receded, Nanabozo placed the muskrat on the back of a turtle. And from this small beginning, he recreated the earth and populated it with animals and humans. Number uno, Chinese mythology. Chinese mythology holds that Yu, the Great, a legendary ruler, played a pivotal role in saving humanity during a catastrophic flood. According to the records of the grand historian Baisui Makian, after Emperor Yao's abdication in favor of his grandson, Gun, the Central Plains experienced severe floods that lasted for 9 years, resulting in extensive loss of life. When Gun failed to control the waters, he was penalized by being tasked with constructing dikes by hand, without any implements. He successfully completed the task in 13 months, and was subsequently given the title of Emperor Yu. His ability to tame the floodwaters established his reputation as a capable leader, and he is revered as the legendary founder of the Xia dynasty, one of China's earliest historical dynasties. So what do you think about these myths? Do you think there really was a great flood in the past, or are these just ancient myths? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more such interesting videos.